I, 23 female, have been a nanny for this wonderful family for 3 years. The family consists of mom, I'll call her Ada, dad, I'll call him Brian, and their one child, I'll call her Cecilia. I started when Cecilia was a month old, and at this point, they all feel like part of my family too. I decided to stick with them even after graduating from college, instead of immediately pursuing a teaching career, because I love Cecilia so much. On top of that, they pay me well. I'm super close with Ada. We have a friendship now outside of me being her nanny. We talk and text on the weekends. I'm always invited to birthday parties and things like that. Yes, she is my employer, but she's also an amazing person. Last weekend, I was out with my boyfriend getting dinner. Surprisingly, I also saw Brian at the restaurant with a woman who was certainly not Ada. I tried to assume the best, thinking maybe it was a relative of his or something. But then he leaned over and kissed the woman. I was shocked and just told my boyfriend we should go somewhere else, and I pulled him out of there quickly because I didn't want Brian to see me. This happened on Saturday of last week. I thought things through that night and over Sunday, and I really didn't know what to do. Ada's expecting another child with Brian, and I tried putting myself in her shoes. I decided that if it were me, I'd want to know that my husband was seeing another woman, so I told her on Monday morning. Brian is never the one home in the morning when I show up. It's always Ada. I walked in, took a deep breath, and explained what I had seen. I hoped she'd tell me that their relationship was open, or they were already separating, but unfortunately, that's not what happened. She immediately got tears in her eyes and was just shaking her head in disbelief, and she kept asking if I was sure that I'd seen him. I told her yes, and she left for work still crying. When she got home later, she seemed pretty emotionless and was quite cold with me. I got a text later that evening saying that she and Cecilia would stay with her parents for a week or two, and that she wouldn't need me to nanny until they got back. I haven't received any further communication from her. I thought I was right for telling her, but my mom and some friends told me I was wrong for sticking my nose in their business. My mom even said I'll probably end up losing my job now, and I'll admit, that has me very stressed out. Now I feel like an idiot who blew up a marriage and stressed a pregnant woman out. So, am I the idiot? Edit. This man was at a restaurant about 30 minutes from our small town. No, OP, not the idiot, not at all. You absolutely did the right thing, and for the right reasons. Her husband blew up the marriage, not you. You did not stick your nose in their business. He advertised his business in public, and you happened to see it. Thank goodness. Can you imagine being pregnant with your second child? You have that child. Then a few years later, you have a mysterious STD. So it comes out that your husband was a dirtbag cheater. And then you find out the nanny knew the whole time and didn't tell you. No way, you were right to do what you did. It doesn't sound like he was even trying to hide it. There's only one idiot here, the cheating piece of crap husband. Unfortunately, you may lose your job, but that's not your fault. On the other hand, you may end up being needed more than ever, depending on the parents' employment situation and if they split. Thank you for telling her, by the way. She has every right to know. One thing I don't get, what stops you from calling the mother and asking how the kid is and if she's okay? You said you're very close, so why would you not call? She may not be able to afford a nanny during and after the divorce, so don't assume there's anything personal involved there. Give her the time she noted before getting too concerned, but I advise signing up to substitute teach in your area in the meantime. Don't delay your future while you wait. Thank you for doing what you did. I wish someone would have done so for me back in the day. Update. I took the advice of many people here and applied to be a substitute teacher for my local school district. I should probably get on top of it just in case. Thank you for the reply. It's a horrible situation all around, but ultimately I'm glad that I told her. My suspicion is that there had probably been signs of something going on, and telling her I saw him out with another woman just confirmed it for her. I'm a male teen, the oldest of 4. My siblings are Kalia, a female teen, Thea, a female tween, and Dex, a male tween. Our mom died 8 years ago. Callie and I are the only ones who remember her, and I remember her a lot more than Cal does, but we always have shared stories of our mom with Thea and Dex. I also have a bunch of photos and videos they've seen, and they do ask about her, including asking our dad sometimes. 2 years after Mom died, my dad met my stepmom and married her quickly, 7-ish months later. At the time, they spoke about her adopting the 4 of us. I said no. There was some debate between them, and they decided to hold off until she could adopt all 4 of us. She was still new to me, so I found it incredibly weird to have someone offer to adopt me 5 months after I met them, especially when she and my dad were both aware that I remembered Mom. None of my siblings have ever called our stepmom Mom. Thea and Dex call her by a nickname, and Kalia calls her by her name like me, but my siblings consider her a parent, while I consider her more of my dad's wife. The adoption topic never really went away, and a couple of years ago I did some research and learned that adoption would alter my birth certificate, and I would be issued a new one if I agreed. My stepmom's name would replace my mom's name as my mother. I researched the topic extensively because I knew the issue would reach a boiling point eventually. I even got to web chat with a local lawyer who knew the details of that stuff. A couple of months ago, my siblings asked me why I mentioned downsides to being adopted, and I told them stepmom's name would replace mom's name on our birth certificates, and I didn't want her to replace mom on mine. I showed them what I found. Callie understood, and Thea and Dex got it when we put it into more kid-friendly terms. My dad and stepmom brought up the adoption again last week, and Dad said it would be the last time, or they would proceed with her adopting my siblings. I told them my answer remained no, and gave them a very detailed speech on why. My stepmom said I could always frame my original birth certificate if that would make it better, and people would see it, but I would still be adopted and be her son. I said no. When they did go to my siblings, they all said no, and they all said they didn't realize that mom's name would be erased, and they didn't want that. My dad and stepmom tried to coax them out of their no, but they all said that they didn't want it, and Kalia said they only ever said yes because they felt like they should, not because they really wanted to be adopted. My dad was furious with me and said it was all my fault, and I had made them change their minds. He said I robbed them of the security adoption would provide and effectively ensured that they would never truly see our stepmom as mom after such a big line in the sand was drawn. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You said no. They need to accept it. And it is on Dad to have a will that expresses his wishes, should he die next month, for your siblings in your living arrangements. The "you can hang up your original birth certificate" is a bunch of BS. You do that, and the next thing you know, stepmom and dad will ask you to put it in location X because stepmom's feelings got hurt. You made your position 100% clear. She's not your mom. You don't see her as a mother. You are a hero for researching and educating your siblings on their options. That is what any responsible loved one of your minor siblings should do in this situation. They should be fully informed of their options in any case where a permanent legal change is made on their behalf. Your dad and stepmom's approach was inappropriate if it did not include this. Your dad has a right to feel sad about the choice, but he doesn't have the right to pressure anyone about it. They need to respect your boundaries. My ex and I, 43 female, got divorced 4 years ago because he cheated on me. We have a preteen son together. X is going through some kind of midlife crisis, I guess, and keeps dating different women. His new toy is a young girl in her early 20s, and he seems to be serious about her. They got engaged a few months ago. A few days ago, when it was my custody time, my son was invited to my ex-mother-in-law's home for her birthday. When it was time to go after my son and bring him back home, my ex-mother-in-law insisted I go in and eat some cake, and I agreed. My ex's new toy was there, and talking to my ex-sister-in-law. She asked her how many kids she was planning to have, and she answered that she had always wanted 2 kids, and since she already had a son, She just wanted one more, hopefully a girl. Newsflash, she doesn't have any kids. She was talking about my kid. I told her to never refer to my son as hers again and reminded her that she doesn't have a child and my son is only mine. She called me a crazy witch and asked me if I was about to leave soon. I took my son and left. Am I the idiot for reminding my ex's new fiance that she doesn't have a child? Edit. My son adores her. When he comes to my house, all he can talk about is how cool Hannah is. It feels like she's trying to alienate me. You are the idiot. Babe, you're alienating yourself with your jealousy. Don't make your son choose between you two. You might not love the result. The dehumanizing way you're talking about a human being is horrific. She is not a toy. She's a person. If you hate your ex this much, fine. But redirecting your hate for him at someone completely innocent in your separation is unacceptable. And for the record, your son is not only yours, he's your ex's child as well. And if your ex does marry this woman, she will be a stepmother. And you've made an enemy of her already. It's not a smart move. This all the way. Good grief, OP. Tell me you're bitter without telling me you're bitter. Your ex did a bad thing. Not this woman, neither your son. And you know that sooner or later, your son will have a stepmom. Your ex found a woman willing to treat your son like her own and not try to throw him away to start her own family. That's a blessing, not a curse. Stop throwing good parenting by the window and start by thinking about what's best for your child. OP, I mean this in the nicest way possible. Are you in therapy? This guy did a number on you, and you're holding on to much well-deserved resentment. But this is not good for you. You deserve to be able to move on. Yes to this. Geez, honey, get some therapy. Referring to the person who will have a ton of contact with your child as your ex's toy is gross behavior from a grown woman. And considering you're harping on the fiance's age so much, it is shockingly immature. This new woman didn't destroy your marriage. Your husband did. Get over this. Get help. You're a grown 43-year-old woman acting worse than a teenager. Yes, he's not her biological son, but she wants to treat him as if he is her son. You should be grateful. I lost my great-grandma in January. She had been sick for a really long time. I, nearly adult male, was close to her because she and my dad were very close when he was a kid, and she was the grandma who helped take care of the grandkids while the parents worked. My dad always said she was the greatest person. He died when I was 8, and our relationship was extra special after his loss. My parents were separated when my dad died, and my mom had sort of moved on already. 2 years later, she moved in with her now husband and my stepsister, who's 5 years younger than me. My paternal family never invited my stepsister along to things. Only some have met her in passing. My great-grandma never met or spoke to her, and they had no relationship. When great-grandma died, she left all the family something. I got my great-grandpa's watch that she had some work done on to make it work and look a bit more modern today. Of course, this was done before she died. The watch had her and great-grandpa's initials, and he wore it every day until his death. I also got some photos of hers and a blanket she had made for my dad that everyone agreed I should have. My stepsister asked a few days after I got the stuff why she never got anything. My mom and her dad were like, I'm sure there are some things. Mom even called my grandma to ask about something for my stepsister, and grandma told her only family was left or entitled to great-grandma's things. My mom was trying to tell my stepsister that she should have gotten something and they would figure it out. My stepsister asked me and suggested we share the photos and blanket. I told her no and said she didn't get anything from my great-grandma because they never met or had any relationship. I told her she was my dad's grandma, not my mom's, and they were not family. My stepsister was still upset and started to cry. She asked why I have a whole other family that she doesn't, and why don't they want to include her. She's autistic and doesn't always understand social things. She's also had an interest in being around my paternal family. My mom told me it was disgusting to say those things to her, and that I should be ashamed for upsetting her and making her feel unworthy. She also told me she was ashamed of how flippant I was about my little sister being left out. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. There's no point in sugarcoating it for her. The best thing to do was to be upfront. This side of the family is not related to you, even in marriage, and these items hold a lot of sentiment for us. You did the right thing. Your mom, however, did not, by getting her hopes up and then wondering why she cried over this situation. I feel like with her autism, and normal people feel this way too, she has FOMO, fear of missing out. So you have this whole life with your dad's side of the family, and she might feel like she, I don't want to use the word entitled, has a right to that relationship somehow. Sure, because the mom totally didn't reinforce the idea that stepsis should get something. Mom probably believes it's only fair if both teams win a sports game. People like that drive me nuts. There's nothing wrong with experiencing sadness or disappointment. It doesn't feel good. This trend of parents expecting their kids to be generous with their spoiled siblings is strange to me. Is it hard to tell her that she doesn't get anything from a stranger? Your mom and stepdad are raising your stepsister to be very entitled. I've read too many stories, and I'm concerned about the safety of your memory objects. I worry that someone will take some or all of them and give them to your stepsis. I worry that your stepsis might destroy them in anger someday. Storing these lovely memories with a trusted friend or family member might be worthwhile until you're out of the house. My 5th grade son is part of an after-school program. Basically, he stays in the yard and plays with his friends and does activities. It's like an after-school camp. I work near his school and took a late 3 p.m. lunch today. I went to the grocery store and was puzzled by all these kids running rampant. I realized they were from my son's school. Then I saw this short blonde-haired kid who looked like my son chasing this kid who looked like his best friend with a bag of sugar and weaving between people. As he got closer, I realized this was my son. As he ran past me, I pulled him into me and told him to calm down. He realized it was me and asked why I was there. I said I was on lunch and why is he there? He told me his teachers took the after-school camp to the store to buy snacks. He asked me to let him go, and I said no. I told him he knew how to act in a store, and as his dad, his behavior was embarrassing. I took him to one of the teachers and asked if he belonged to him. He said yes to him and another teacher. He asked what was wrong and if I could let him go. I said he and the other kids are running around the store like a playground, and you and Mrs. Daniel should be watching them better. Oh, and I'm his dad. Mrs. Daniel came over and asked what was wrong. I told her what I told the other teacher. She said, I knew you looked familiar, and laughed. I said, this isn't funny. You better handle my son's behavior, or I will, and no one will like it. The guy teacher said, please don't talk down to us like that. I said, then please do your job. You are the idiot. How can you criticize those teachers' work when you couldn't even teach your child to behave in a store in the first place? If you want to lecture the person responsible for your kid's terrible behavior in the store, find a mirror and give yourself the business. Oh, you are the idiot. Maybe if you have such high standards, you should watch your kid so it goes your way. No part of your story asks if you were the idiot because you don't think you're wrong. So why are you here? For us to butt pat you and tell you what an excellent parent you are? You berated teachers for failing what you couldn't even do. You clearly can't parent your child, who sounds like a menace. It's god-awful parents like you who make the lives of teachers exponentially more difficult. Little Johnny would never act like that with me. Yeah, okay, buddy. I'm male 33, am marrying the love of my life, female 25. She has a daughter, tween. She was 5 when I met my fiancé. The bio dad is not in the picture. We didn't start dating until my fiancé finished college 3 years ago. She worked her butt off as a single mom to get her high school diploma and then her teaching degree after her parents kicked her out when she was pregnant. Eventually, they reconciled, and they helped her with childcare while she finished school. We met when she was a student teacher at the school where I work. For the last 2 years, her daughter has been my daughter. I'm adopting her as part of our wedding because I'm her dad. Both my fiancé and I are Caucasian. My daughter's mixed. When we were discussing it with both of our parents, I overheard my mother saying she couldn't wait to have a real grandchild. I immediately asked her what she meant by that, and she said she just means it's obvious that my daughter isn't biologically mine. She said that she wants a child that's obviously her grandchild to show off. I would never in a million years have guessed those words would come out of my mother. I told her she wasn't welcome at my wedding and to not worry about being seen with my daughter because she would never be seeing any of my kids. She's been blowing up my social media, claiming that it's my fault for not understanding how she feels. It takes everything I have not to block her because she and my dad share accounts. I want to just call her out as a racist witch. My family thinks I should give her another chance. I don't want her and her attitude near my family. My fiancé says it's my call, but I know she's hurt by what my mother said. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. As a white girl who was adopted by a man of color who married my mom, good for you. You're doing what my dad did. I was his, period. End of discussion. You have a good heart, and I'm sorry your mother needs to evolve so much. Your family of origin doesn't have a say in this. Your family now, your wife and daughter, take precedence. I'd be waiting for a long letter of apology and how your mother realizes that what she said was not only hurtful, but incredibly racist, and frankly very shallow. Wanting a baby to show off? That's icky. You want to love the children you have around you now, not a someday baby. I understand your disgust. Your mom wants an accessory, not a grandchild. Your mom isn't even sorry about what she said. Speaks volumes about how you did the right thing. Keep your children away from that, all of them. Thank you for stepping up and protecting this child. Shame on your mom. Worse, she doubled down on her statement when you called her out on it. In my family, my grandmother hated my mom, and because of that, she was very cold and distant from my middle sister, who also looked a lot like my mother. She would exclude her from sleepovers and other activities. As a child, I didn't realize what was happening, but I found out that my sister would ask my mom why Grandpa and Grandma didn't ask her over. That was a great pain to her. I could see your mother doing this same thing, excluding your current daughter from activities that include any future activities she might have with your bio children. So, OP, your mother would consistently treat your daughter as less than for the rest of the old bat's miserable life. I, female 32, have been with my boyfriend, 35, for 7 years. He has what he calls supernatural ability, and that's to dream about things and/or events before they take place. In other words, he claims to predict the future, LOL. He once talked about seeing me getting a new car in his dream, and in 2 months' time, I bought a new car that I was saving for. Another example, he told me about seeing a new friend coming into my life in his dreams. It turns out he was talking about the dog I adopted in July. So basically, events that weren't so surprising. Now I've got a raise at work, around 40% after working my butt off for 6+ years with this company. I was happy because now I get to renovate parts of the house like I always wanted. I don't earn much anyway. And when I told my boyfriend, he told me to set aside a percentage of the money for him. I was so confused. I asked why, and he said it was because he had already dreamed about me getting a raise and predicted this event before it happened. I said, I don't know, since I don't recall he ever told me. He got upset and said that he didn't tell me because I kept making fun of his abilities and that I could go ask his friends, and they'll confirm that he did see this coming. I said I was sorry, but this seemed illogical and unreasonable of him. I refused to give him any money, and he flipped out and called me ungrateful and claimed that I was turning my back on the people who helped me to get this raise. Not gonna lie, I kinda laughed at the absurdity of this, but he got even more offended and said that I couldn't blame him for not telling me after I kept mocking him like that. I refused and said there was no way I would give him any percentage and would instead save the extra money for renovation work around the house. We argued and he left to be with his friends, who later got involved and said that the way I treated my boyfriend and his incredible prediction ability was appalling and out of line. They said he wasn't asking for much and I should consider it. OP, I had a dream last night and saw you getting a new boyfriend. I wonder if his incredible prediction abilities would have forecast his soon-to-be single life. Judging from this attitude, he should have a bag packed already. Not the idiot girl. Your man is Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. We all laughed at the absurdity, but honestly, why are you with him? Anyone who feels entitled to other people's money isn't worth the effort. And his predicting ability? You were saving for a car, then you bought one. You were getting a new dog and you got one. You busted your butt to get a promotion and you got one. I'll show you my predictive abilities. You had an entitled boyfriend who sent his flying monkeys at you and he got dumped. Let's assume for a minute he actually has these abilities and that he predicted that you'd get a raise. It's not like he got the raise for you. It's not like he used his Jedi mind tricks to make the raise happen. He just saw that it would happen. You earned that raise. He just supposedly watched it happen. This is such a crazy position for him, considering he literally contributed nothing to your raise. Do you think as well as getting a raise, you could raise your standards in men and get a new boyfriend? You don't owe him money because he saw you get a raise. That's not how raises work. You're not a lotto ticket. Congrats on your promo. He doesn't deserve anything. He's an entitled child. For the love of Pete, dump and block him. Yesterday was my wife's birthday, and I gave her a new board game. For background, we have a toddler girl and we just had a baby, and she's been a little down, but she's taking medication for it. We were popping out the pieces after we got home from buying the game, and my wife asked me to please stop and that she wanted us to do it later so our toddler doesn't mess with it or lose the pieces, as it's a game she really wanted, and it was a little expensive. I figured I might as well keep going as we weren't doing anything at that moment anyway. She asked me to stop again, but I was halfway through doing it. Our daughter was busy with a new toy, but then came over and started messing with the pieces. I started to tell her to stop, but my wife said, "Fine, if you're going to keep popping them out around her, you may as well let her help, as it's going to be double the work trying to stop her from helping." So our toddler helped me get things set up. We didn't end up playing that night, but we played tonight, and a piece was pretty much broken from my daughter ripping it. My wife was pretty upset at her new game being messed up before we ever played. Not at our daughter, but at me for not putting the game up around our toddler. I reminded her. She said it was fine if our toddler helped. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Are you seriously that dense? She clearly told you not to put the game together around your toddler. That's when your toddler starts to screw up her new game. She's exasperated that you didn't listen to her and tells you you might as well keep going and screwing up her game because you've already started. Read the room better next time because it's clear what your wife was telling you. I was already doing it and I wanted to keep doing it, so I just ignored what my wife wanted to be done with her gift. Imagine you had something you were really looking forward to and was pretty expensive. Board games can average $50 to $120. You got it as a burger gift, but before you had a chance to open it, someone else opened the plastic, started touching it and setting it up and dropping parts, and wouldn't stop when you asked. Seriously, OP, I get that a board game is something you play together, but it wasn't yours. And honestly, you need to start looking for a replacement part or replace the game. You should have waited until she was ready and considered her feelings instead of casually dismissing her and doing what you wanted. She was right that you shouldn't do it, and something got damaged 100% because of you. Question: do you normally gaslight her and ignore her feelings in other aspects of your marriage? Your point is just a long victim-blaming way of you justifying being a jerk. Geez, you sound like a great and supportive husband. My nearly adult female parents are divorced, and I spend 50-50 with each parent. Going to my mom's is awful. She has a stepdaughter, nearly adult, that I don't like because she's always stealing my clothes and wearing my jewelry. I've done everything I can to make her stop, including talking to my parents, but she refuses to listen. It's gotten to the point that I hardly keep valuable stuff or clothes or jewelry I like at my mom's. My stepsister had dinner with her boyfriend's parents yesterday, and I also had planned a little date with my boyfriend today. Because of that, I bought a cute dress that my mom bought me a while ago, shoes, makeup, and a few pieces of jewelry, and kept them in my bag. She spent all morning getting dressed up and ready. My mom and I saw her getting in 3 to 4 outfits until she said she was leaving. I looked at her, and she was wearing my dress. I asked her what she was wearing, and she said that nothing she had was cute, and that she found this dress in my room. I said, "No, you snooped around my things and found that dress in my bag. Take it off." She said she was already running late and couldn't do that, but I put myself in front of the door and told her to go change. I noticed she's also wearing my necklace and a ring, and I explode. I yell at her, "Take off my stuff, you thief. I'll call my dad. That's mine. Take it off." She starts to cry, and my mom asked her to go change and give me my things back. She yells she's running late and blah, 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 but I don't care and I don't move. She returns to her room and changes, then throws my stuff back and storms off. My mom said that what I did was not nice and that I shouldn't have called her a thief. When she was about to scold me, I just cut her off and asked her to let me call my dad so he could also hear how she would give me a talk because I didn't let her lovely daughter steal my stuff. She sent me to my room, and I heard her and my stepdad fight that night. My dad's on my side, but my mom and her husband agreed that I was an idiot, and a friend thinks that I shouldn't have made my stepsister change when she was already late. I'm about to go out, and I'm definitely wearing the dress and the rest of my stuff. Not the idiot. Take your valuables to your dad, and don't leave something you don't want her to touch in her reach. I had to get a lockbox that only I had the combo for to keep unwanted hands out of my stuff. But you're also nearly adult and don't have to continue to go to your mom's if you don't want to. Judges consider that kind of thing. And get new friends. I think the other one is broken. Even if the dress hadn't been lying around, she knew it wasn't hers to take or wear. But to break into your bag is next level. I can't believe your mom would side with her. She outright stole your stuff. This is ridiculous, and she had no excuse. Yes, your stepsister being late to something does not change the fact that she was attempting to steal your clothes. What kind of insane standard is that? Maybe direct her towards stealing from your mom's wardrobe next time instead. My fiance's sister and her husband came over for dinner last night. They have a very young daughter, Emily. Some background. Emily is a very curious girl who loves to play and explore and play dress up. I have a pretty nice clothing and shoe collection I showed Emily one of the first times she came over. Since then, I have let Emily borrow many items of my clothing to try on for fun and put on fashion shows. I was completely okay with it until this summer when Emily asked to try on a pair of my expensive heels. This was partially my fault. I said yes, but couldn't monitor her the entire time because I was busy preparing food for a lunch party I was setting up. I thought her parents were watching her since they saw her put them on too, but no. I came back to check on her 20 minutes later, and she had cut one of the bows off the shoes and was in the process of cutting off the other one. I was horrified and immediately stopped her, resulting in a huge tantrum. Her parents rushed in and asked her what had happened, and she said she didn't like the look of the bows and wanted them off, so she found scissors from my office, which she wasn't even supposed to go into at all. I was extremely upset and had to excuse myself to calm down. Afterward, my fiance's sister and husband apologized and seemed really sorry, but they never offered to pay for the cost of repair. My fiance, unbeknownst to me at the time, had then reached out to his sister to ask her to either buy me a new pair or pay for the repair. After a week, I got a random text for his sister asking me if I'd like them to pay for the cost of the repair. I declined because it sounded like she was forced to send the text. Fast forward to last night. It's their family's first time seeing us after the engagement, which happened 3 weeks ago. Yay! It was Emily's first time seeing the ring, so she kept asking me to show it to her, and I did, multiple times. Finally, after dinner, we were all sitting on the couch, and Emily asked to see the ring again, except this time she asked if she could try it on. I was expecting my fiance's sister to intervene immediately and tell her that wasn't appropriate, but she said nothing and just laughed. I was personally uncomfortable with the idea of her trying it on because 1, the ring is very personal to me and very expensive, and 2, I was still slightly scared after the shoe incident and worried about something like that happening again. I basically said something like, "Oh, this ring is very dear to me and I'd like to keep it on my finger, but I can give you one of my other rings to try on if you like." She said no and asked again. I repeated myself. She started getting teary, and that's when her mom intervened and said, "Oh, come on, just let her try it on for a second. She's not going to break the thing." I was getting annoyed at this point, so I just said, "I'd prefer not to." Cue awkward silence. Then her husband says, "Well, we should get going." But before they went out the door, my fiance's sister said, "Well, now I get why you two don't want children. It's probably better off for everyone." I was immediately shocked by this absurd statement, and my fiance said, "That was uncalled for." She said, "It's just the truth," and she rolled her eyes and they all left. Now my fiance is refusing to speak to his sister and has told me we will not have her back again, and everyone's just overall upset. My fiance doesn't blame me, but I can't help but think that maybe I should have acted differently. Am I the problem here? Not the idiot. A little child does not need to be trying on engagement rings. No one needs to try on someone else's engagement ring or a wedding ring for giggles, regardless of age. Engagement or wedding rings are personal because of their sentimental value. Look, don't touch. I'm honestly appalled at her parents' reaction, especially after what happened with the shoes. You shouldn't have to worry that anything else you have will be damaged or destroyed because his sister doesn't respect your belongings. It's not the girl's fault, though. Kids don't understand. But her mother certainly does, and she's the one who lacks respect for you and your belongings. She almost seems to like watching your things get damaged. And what she said to you was a way to retaliate against you for not letting your daughter put on your ring. She's not a nice person. Next, she'll want to try on the wedding veil and rip it. After that, I wouldn't invite any of them to the wedding. That kid sounds spoiled, and the parents clearly cannot be bothered to explain healthy boundaries to their daughter. Kudos to your fiancé for standing up for you. You picked a good egg. Also, the irony of a woman who doesn't watch your kid or teach her to respect others' belongings looking down on a woman who has far better parental skills than her is hilarious.